Colourful, hygienic and nicely packaged. Supermarket food is similar wherever you look in the world. From Shanghai to Berlin and Paris, the same products are shipped around the world and made to last as long as possible. For consumers, it's very practical. But food scientists are sounding the alarm bells. The packaging often contains dangerous toxins which can enter the food chain, and only a few of them are known to us.
I estimate that in total, various types of packaging contain about 100,000 substances in a concentration that could well be relevant.
Is food packaging a danger for our health? Like most Europeans, Stefanie Bloch goes shopping about 3 times a week. The French mother of 2 works a full-time job and therefore has to organize her time carefully. In this supermarket, she knows she can find everything she needs in one place. It saves time and it's convenient. And that's also the reason why she chooses products with a long use-by date. What she doesn't know is that colourful and convenient packaging poses a health risk. Many jars, cartons and plastic wrappers contain harmful toxins that can seep into the food it is meant to protect. Only few of these toxins are known to us and only few have been tested for their possible effects on human health. An expert for so-called migrating toxins is Dr. Marieke Kolosser, a toxicologist for the Federal Environmental Agency. Her specialist areas are phthalates. They are most commonly used in industry to make plastic packaging soft, flexible and durable. These softeners are a serious health risk. They have not only been found in packaging but also in children's toys and subsequently in children. The Federal Environmental Agency was alarmed by the results of a study conducted with some 2,000 children. To find out where the phthalates come from, various foods were also tested for softeners.
We measured increased phthalate levels in pesto and Asian sauces, and also in rolls that are eaten with chocolate hazelnut spreads. We also found elevated levels in gummy bears and other gelatin-based candy. We even found phthalates in milk, including organic milk. So we suspect it got in there via the packaging.
So how do they affect the body?
Phthalates work like hormones. They can disrupt the hormonal functions of the body.
To find out more about what this means, we travel to Denmark. Scientists at Copenhagen's University Clinic have been studying the effects of softeners on the human body for 20 years. The andrologist Dr. Jørgensen has proven that phthalates work much like female hormones, which leads to a significant hormonal imbalance, primarily in men. The scientists began their research after they started to notice a significant rise in infertility among male patients. As part of an independent survey, the analysis of more than 10,000 sperm samples showed some shocking results. Almost half of the men in the study had such poor quality sperm that they were infertile. The number of infertile men in Europe is on the rise.
Thank you.
A typical phenomenon is that of sperm swimming around in circles, thereby missing its target. Scientists believe the men were born infertile.
Some of the phthalates and other things, the pregnant woman get it into her body, and while she is in her body, it goes to her fetus, the unborn child, and it impairs the development of the testicles, so they do not develop properly. And if that happens, then we see the fact that there are too few of the very, very early germ cells and the supporting cells developed, and that leads to a reduced sperm number later in life.
Phthalates are particularly dangerous for young women of childbearing age and small children. Stephanie wants her sons to eat healthy. She rarely gives them candy, but when she does, she has no way of knowing whether the packaging is safe or not.
On this packet, it just says the packaging is environmentally sustainable. It doesn't say anything else.
Kids love chocolate hazelnut spreads, but the German Environmental Agency has found high levels of DEHP in some of them. DEHP is considered the most dangerous phthalate. Ferrero, the makers of Nutella, also found softeners in their product. But the company insists that the levels are perfectly safe. One would have to eat a lot of Nutella for the phthalates to have a health impact. But scientists agree DEHP can cause infertility. That's why the EU has banned it in toys.
Tu m'appelles quand t'as fini?
Why this toxin hasn't been banned in packaging is a mystery. A study by the Federal Environmental Agency shows that many children have traces of this particularly dangerous softener in their body. The study involved 600 children, every one of which had traces of softeners in their urine.
They must be banned because in all children tested in Germany, we found metabolites of 5 important phthalates. This means they've become ubiquitous in children. And 20% of children had individual phthalates in their bodies in concentrations which we believe to be toxicologically dangerous. If you consider that a number of phthalates can have a cumulative effect, then it's possible that up to 80% of children have more phthalates in them than toxicologists would say is harmless.
We are basically all affected by phthalates. The European Parliament has been slow to introduce the necessary bans, but as lawmakers lack the expertise, a special agency has been created. It's called the European Chemicals Agency, ECHA. It regulates the approval and limitation of chemicals within the EU. So-called REACH lists have been created. Questionable substances like DEHP are registered on that list. The goal is to make DEHP disappear from the market across Europe by October 2012. But for such individual bans to be effective, the chemicals industry must step up to the challenge of developing safe alternatives. So far, the results have been lacking. The EU Environment Commission is concerned.
We have a number of priorities this year, environmental infringements in general, but also chemicals in particular. We're not happy at the moment with the number of chemicals which have been tested and which are in the annexes, and that needs to be looked at seriously.
The companies have now been forced to test new chemicals at their own expense. Only after testing will they be approved for the European market. This is complicated and expensive, and that's why there are only few applications to register new products.
It's quite low at the moment. We have to make sure REACH does the things that it was intended to do. Things in the EU do take a long time. You can't argue against that. It's always when you've got 27 member states, You've got a European Parliament, you've got the European Commission. It's complicated. It can be bureaucratic, it can be technocratic. It's a complicated issue. You've got lots of different national administrations, national legislation, different cultures. You have the industry lobby.
The world's biggest chemicals company, BASF, has banned the production of DEHP in Europe years ago. According to the company, there is little demand for such a chemical in Europe. It's a different story, though, in Asia, where BASF continues to produce the controversial softener, which remains the most widespread softener on the Asian market. Much of our packaging is produced in China, and therefore also most DEHP. Chinese company also produced the softener in large amounts. The Hangzhou Nature Organic Chemicals Company is one example. The company mainly make phthalates. What looks so clean here can be very dangerous to human health. This chemical is so dangerous that the Chinese authorities have banned its use in animal feed and food production. The company sells 90% of its products in China. Its customers are companies that primarily export their goods to Europe. This company that makes plastic wrap, for example. Soft, see-through and hygienic. Softeners are just one of many migrating toxins hiding in the shelves of our supermarkets. Plastic wrapping can also contain Bisphenol A, known as BPA. It makes the packaging durable and protects the food from oxidation. It is suspected of causing heart disease and metabolic disease and of damaging the brain. Particularly high levels of BPA can be released from packaging into food when both are heated in a microwave.
My oldest son is 5. He has allergies, and I ask myself whether it could come from toxins in packaging. The baby bottles I used to feed him with were found to contain BPA. We even warmed them up in the microwave. He was exposed to it all the time. We have to wait and see how he turns out now.
Consumers only find out about the dangers when it's too late. In May 2010, France banned the use of BPA in baby bottles, but that's no use to Stephanie's oldest son. And BPA continues to seep into many foods, not just baby food. Every day we put things in our mouth that are made of plastic. What can consumers do?
Of course, I've changed my behavior. I don't heat things up in the microwave anymore. I use a kettle instead. Now they make bottles and pacifiers that are free of bisphenol. But can you really trust them? We just follow the trend. It's also a question of what's fashionable.
Denmark is the only country in Europe to have banned BPA in all children's food packaging. The rest of Europe is still discussing the possible health risks of BPA. Dr. Eric Houdot and Dr. Jean-Pierre Cravedy of the European Institute for Food Safety, INRA in Toulouse, are already convinced that BPA is dangerous. They found out through animal tests that the chemical can enter our organs and prevent the growth of immune cells. Our immune system becomes vulnerable. The chemicals also enter our body through our skin. In their tests, the scientists compared mice exposed to BPA with others that live in a BPA-free environment. The result was that BPA mice were most susceptible to germs. Animals were most at risk when exposed to the chemicals in the womb. The substance reaches the fetus and blocks its development of immune cells. This can even result in a genetic change. Tests with human cells have confirmed the research findings.
Si le bisphénol bloque trop tôt la porte de ces échanges,
on the inner skin of our organs, there are cells that ensure that germs do not reach our organs. BPA hems the growth of such cells in embryos. Their organs are unable to differentiate between safe and dangerous bacteria. The entire warning system collapses, and our body can fall victim to germs. The immune system is unable to develop beyond that of a newborn.
This means our body is no longer able to protect us from dangerous bacteria and illnesses. Scientists know this, but the long-term effects of a prolonged intake of BPA are yet unknown.
The
lifespan of an animal isn't long enough for us to learn how devastating the effects of bisphenol A might be on humans in the long term. We are exposed to such substances throughout our life, whereas the test animals are only exposed a few weeks or months.
For scientists, it's clear BPA can cause lasting damage to our immune system. Migrating toxins can be anywhere. For example, in canned food. Scientists examined various foods to see how much bisphenol A is in them.
Bisphenol is in the white wax layer that coats the inside of the aluminum cans. It is used to keep them airtight. Most foods are sterilized by heating them up before they are canned. When the hot food touches the plastic coating of the can, the highest levels of bisphenol are released into the food, like in the case of this can of corn.
With every spoon of canned sweet corn, we're eating bisphenol. It should be a clear-cut case for the authorities. The French Agency for Food Safety and Consumer Protection has been tasked to find out if European consumers need to be protected from BPA. Professor Marie Favreau believes they don't.
We only accept the studies from toxicologists who conduct very careful research using internationally recognized methods. The few studies that have been conducted in accordance with these principles have found no evidence of a link between BPA and health problems. Let me be clear. At present, according to strict scientific studies, there is no evidence to support the claim that BPA is harmful to human health.
We scientists, whether we're here in France or in the US, we publish all our studies in international journals. Every one of us is an expert in his or her area. We systematically tested different animal groups, growing up with and without BPA. The differences were sufficient to prove that BPA is a health hazard. What more do we need?
But who is responsible for the fact that independent state-subsidized surveys are not recognized?
They are analyzed and assessed by the national and European authorities at the same time. The European institutions make the decisions, and so do the national ministries.
But we want to know who exactly has the final say.
Turn off the camera. No, turn it off.
France, of all nations, having put so much money into researching the risks of BPA, is also the country that is blocking an EU ban. How is this possible? Chemicals giants like Bayer also don't see a risk. Bayer refers us to the lobby group Plastics Europe. Industry itself has commissioned 14 separate studies. The result each time, BPA poses no risk. They contradict no less than 153 publicly financed studies which concluded that there is a health risk. The EU quite clearly prefers to put its trust in industry. Bisphenol A continues to be legal in Europe. Most plastic packaging is made in China. EU regulations don't apply here, of course. And clearly, production costs are so low here that it is even profitable to import disposable packaging to Europe, all the way from China. Presentation is everything. Nobody cares what ingredients the plastic packaging may contain. It is impossible to test all products for BPAs. Manufacturers are not legally required to name the chemicals they use. All this is carried out without regard for consumers. The BPA toxin is hidden in hard plastic packaging and disposable cutlery. But these are not the only controversial migrating toxins lingering in packaging. There are many more. Scientists have not yet examined all of them. It's also unknown which cumulative effect they may have. But one thing is clear already. A lot of our modern packaging contains a cocktail of chemicals that could carry high risks. Stefanie Bloch is looking for alternative foods for her children. She buys more and more organic products. They too are now common in most supermarkets, and their packaging often resembles conventional products.
With organic products, I have just as much packaging to throw away. Plastic, cardboard, there's a lot of waste. I think that's a shame. I would like to be able to buy organic products at a reasonable price, but even these fruits are fully wrapped in plastic and cardboard. Everything is wrapped. I don't like it at all.
But Stefanie's young family has no real choice. She doesn't have the time to prepare everything fresh. And so she ends up making this organic rice, which is packaged like every other, in a plastic bag. Manufacturers don't seem bothered that dangerous toxins from the plastic may be seeping into the rice. It's prepared quickly, and the children like it. All that remains are the foils, hard plastic and cardboard. A lot of it can be recycled and turned into new food packaging. Some 600 tons of paper are collected at this recycling point every day. Color-printed paper, cigarette packets, lots of things that should never come in contact with food. It would take a lot of chemicals to get the printing colors out of the paper, but that would be much too expensive. And so the traces of color remain inside the paper. Switzerland is the first country to address the problem. Here in Zurich, scientists are analyzing the ingredients of the recycled cardboard. Every day they buy supermarket foods to check the packaging for harmful chemicals. The food chemist Dr. Konrad Grob is an expert for cardboard packaging. He has found that recycled cardboard bears a particularly high risk of being contaminated with toxic chemicals that can enter the food.
You rip open the carton, tearing it diagonally like this, so that you can see the inside. You see this white layer, and under it gray. That's the recycled material, and in this case even the back of the carton is made of recycled material.
Ein mögliches Problem sind Kartonverpackungen. Das sind zwei Probleme eigentlich. Das eine ist die
Cardboard packaging bears two possible risks. First, there's the print color on the carton, and then there's the old print color from the recycled carton, which is of course still present in the new packaging. Newspaper print, for example, consists of several parts per million of mineral oil, and this ends up in the recycled packaging, and from there it can potentially end up in the food.
So far, packaging can only be tested for its mineral oil content in Switzerland. It's a complicated test, but the only way to keep a check on industry.
There is a toxicological evaluation for such mineral oils, which is some 20 years old. And what we've noticed is that the toxin levels, which we consider to be safe, are often exceeded tenfold and sometimes even 100-fold. In such cases, it's our job to warn people because it's unacceptable.
Recycled packaging often contains mineral oil that consumers can end up absorbing. The problem is that the printing colors can even contain phthalates. Experts estimate that these colors can contain at least 6,000 different substances, an alarming figure for the Swiss Consumer Protection Agency and reason enough to act. The agency now carries out regular checks, and since January 2010, Switzerland has stricter regulations concerning food packaging than the EU.
Switzerland is unique in regulating the use of printing colors in food packaging. There are lists of substances which are allowed because they are considered safe, and of substances which are controversial and need further testing.
Toxic printing colors are banned in Switzerland. So has food packaging actually become safer there? Europe's biggest packaging manufacturer, Mayr-Melnhof, tells us in a written statement, quote, "Our products fulfill the guidelines of all the countries they are made for, and we only use approved printing colors." Unfortunately, consumers cannot check this, as nobody writes on the packaging which kind of print was used to make it.
Obviously, companies are competing for attention with their packaging, so they use plenty of printing color and glossy sealant. We also analyzed other components and found that the most eye-catching packaging is often the most contaminated. Of course, it's a paradox that what consumers are most attracted to should be the most harmful for them.
Everywhere in the world, supermarket customers are paying a premium for nicely packaged food, but nobody knows how high the cost is to their health. So far, the EU is unable to protect its consumers. A ban on toxic softeners, Bisphenol A, and the toxic printing colors is overdue. But that's not likely to happen anytime soon.